Do all ex-smokers get COPD? That's chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. So do all ex-smokers get COPD? Now, look, it's this speaks, I think, to genuine concerns that smokers have about how worthwhile it is for them to quit smoking. You see, if there's a perception that you are going to be ill one way or the other, then why not just carry on with something that you enjoy doing rather than quit? Now, I know that that twisted kind of logic is the logic of smokers, because I've worked with, so many of you around the world to quit these past 2.5 decades. All right. But I want to give you a little bit of a few kind of sort of ideas today around COPD. It's unpleasant. It's a very unpleasant problem. There's folk who live with the COPD flares and the other kind of issues associated with this can have, a lot of life challenges. Okay, and I think that it's helpful, okay, to just understand that, look, COPD, it's basically it's a group of lung conditions that cause breathing difficulties. All right, anytime you have that, it can be a real challenge. All right, so, and the exact amount of time that a person can live with COPD really depends on their age, their health, their symptoms, all this kind of stuff. Okay, they might well live for 10 years, 20 years, all these kind of things. All right, so it's called a terminal illness, but people may well not die from the condition directly or from oxygen starvation. Okay, so it's also, by the way, one of the reasons we say it's not directly there is because it's an independent risk factor for sudden cardiac death. All right, so we want to make sure, ideally, that if we can avoid this, okay, if we can avoid any of these kind of serious issues and these serious challenges, and that's really what we want to do. Okay, because, well, quite frankly, giving up smoking is one of the best things you can do for your health. All right. Now, let's look at it this way. If you're a smoker, let's think of it this way. If you're a smoker, how likely are you to get COPD? All right. Some medical professionals who've seen a lot of people and looked at the data will estimate that this is around 20%, possibly as high as 30%. Okay. So the people who get COPD is probably 20% of cigarette smokers. Okay, so it's much like we know that the risk of lung cancer is increased from smoking, heart disease, COPD is another one of those things, and you can reduce your risk of most of these things by quitting. All right, but there is still a risk when you quit. All right, so it's never going to be 100% of people are going to get COPD. It will be up to 20%. Okay, and when you quit, well, that's going to be, you are going to be reducing your symptoms, certainly of things like heart disease, stroke, lung cancer. Okay, we know that your risk of lung cancer will be reduced by approximately 50% within 10 years relative to people who carry on smoking. So it's really, really solid health-based data there to motivate you to quit. Okay, but really it depends on how much you smoked. If you smoked a cigarette a day for a year, risk is probably quite small. If you smoke 20 a day for 20 years or 30 years, well now you can imagine it's there. Okay, now that diagnosis is one that will be with you. Okay, but when you quit smoking, the good news is you can stay at that level and let things not progress. In fact, things will stop deteriorating, and that's the beauty of this. Okay, so it's not so much that ex-smokers will get this. It's on the contrary. Okay, they are probably less likely, or if something has progressed, it will stop it progressing, or it will at least slow it down and allow you to come up with the best way to maintain, the best way to deal with this. Okay, look, one of the most sort of like famous people, you know, I sort of watched growing up on TV was Leonard Nimoy. He got COPD. He had quit smoking many years before, and you know, it was when he came out with that, it was a huge it was a huge thing for people. It's a huge wake up call for people around COPD. Okay, so look, there are things in life where illness just happens. We know that. We all know that. There are some people, unfortunately, are dealt a very poor set of cards, and you know, it's unfair. You know, youngsters, other folk who have not, you know, looked after their health to the best of their abilities, bad things can still happen to them. That doesn't excuse us from looking at the best ways in which we can look after ourselves and the best ways in which we can take care of ourselves. All right. And remember the psychological benefits, the benefits to your mental well-being of being able to quit and do that in your own terms, especially when there's no cravings and there's no difficulty there, are really, really immense. But just be aware that COPD, there is a risk there. That risk will be there to some degree, but overall it's going to be slowing things down. Okay, it's going to be, if it is starting, it will be stopping it. Okay, and the good news is that for pretty much most of these things, your lungs are able to repair themselves to the degree they can. All right, so the benefits of quitting are that absolutely you're going to stop the progression of this. You're going to halt it in its tracks, or certainly slow things down. Okay, and your medical professional will be able to let you know about that and what needs to have happen. But what's absolutely sure is that if you carry on, well, then things are going to get seriously, seriously worse. All right. So people say to me, you know, and I've been asked this before, what's the best age to quit smoking? And the answer, of course, is right now. And there are plenty of people out there who can help you. Find a good stop smoking expert, because they can work with you to help you go through the stages of quitting smoking, to put a plan in place, work with your unconscious mind, deal with those inner triggers that are causing you to do this unconsciously, so you can make a change.